All right, obviously Dak Prescott injured his thumb in the game against Tampa Bay, and a lot of questions about what Dallas is going to do at quarterback. We are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what I think they should do, and we're going to listen. We're going to kick that conversation off with Stephen A. Smith from ESPN's First Take. What do you think they should do, Stephen?
So first you say the season over, and then you come back and say in the grand scheme you got a chance.
No, I said
lay on one side of the line and stay on it, please.
I'm not totally sure what the format of this is. This must not be ESPN's video, but the squares are blowing my mind. The season is over. All right, Dallas's season is over. Dallas has to decide what they want to do with the future and what they want to do with competing or tanking. That's their only options. This season, as far as the NFC goes, as far as the NFC East goes, as far as the Super Bowl goes, which wasn't happening anyways, that is over. That is donezo. Done. They're not good enough. They don't have enough assets. Dak wasn't good enough. The team as it wasn't good enough. Mike McCarthy isn't good enough. Kellen Moore isn't good enough. Ezekiel Elliott's not good enough. CeeDee Lamb's not good enough. The only player on that team that is good enough to be on a team of that level is Micah Parsons.
I am. I'm just saying other people are going to bring up the NFC least. I'm not. It's a wrap. You will not be playing a postseason game.
Not that I'm used to this kind of start when I played, but what you do when something like this does happen is okay. The season is not over.
It is over. It is over. I want to get past them talking about that. I want to see what they talk about the actual quarterback situation, because let's see if we can find it.
Can't count on him to stay healthy. And I'm not putting Dak there just yet, but the Cowboys got to address this now, not only for this season, but also for the future. At some point, they're going to have to sit there and say, 2 out of the last 3 years, our starting quarterback, who's a phenomenal human being and a good player.
Okay, yeah, this is a good kicking off point. Thank you, Dan. They do have to now, their window's closed, right? Dak was playing at one point in his career, he was playing at an elite level. No doubt about it. He was playing at an elite level at one point in his career. He is no longer playing at an elite level. I mean, even in the Tampa Bay game, he was not playing well. He hasn't, he's been hurt. He's getting older, and the weapons around him are getting worse. That is a really bad combination. That's something you do not want to see if you think your window is still open. Like whenever Drew Brees was at the end, and Drew Brees was not, his level of play was decreasing, the Saints' weapons were increasing. All of a sudden, you saw Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. They were boosting the weapons around him, or the defense was elite, right? He had other things around him so that the window stayed open. If you're relying on one player, even a Drew Brees, and Dak Prescott is not Drew Brees. Dak Prescott is not in that sphere. Russell Wilson. As Russell Wilson, as the Seahawks window was closing, Russell Wilson was still getting assets like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, players like that, even as he may have been decreasing a little bit and the defense was decreasing. So the Cowboys don't do that. The Cowboys have shut. The window has shut. They were this high-flying offense, right? What have they done? Dak has gotten worse. Ezekiel Elliott has gotten worse. CeeDee Lamb is there. But then who's around CeeDee Lamb? I would have to Google who the other receivers are right now, and I watched every single snap of that game. So Dallas just is not there. So Dallas has to decide now, like every team has to, they have to decide what they want to do with the word of tanking, right? The rumor is Dallas is going after Sean Payton for next year. So if you're Jerry Jones, do you want to go get Jimmy Garoppolo? Do you want to go get Tyrod Taylor? Do you want to go get Andy Dalton and try and scratch and claw and cut your arm off for 6 wins and get the 14th pick in the draft? Or do you want to put Cooper Rush out there and say, all right, put Cooper Rush out there, put Cooper out there, let's go win 2-3 games and hopefully get a top 3 pick and let Sean Payton start us off with a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young? But can you do that if you're the Dallas Cowboys? Can you truly tank if you are the Dallas Cowboys? What I think they should do, and this is before any of this, and I know that it says it in the headline up here. I think Jerry can kill two birds with one stone here because Jerry wants to remain relevant. Jerry wants to be the Dallas Cowboys, right? What would make him more relevant than giving Colin Kaepernick a chance? What would make him more relevant and save face like having Colin Kaepernick start for the Dallas Cowboys? Because Cooper Rush is not going to make the Cowboys even competitive. They will not be relevant. They will be a joke. They will get trashed every week. They will have nothing. If Colin Kaepernick is given a chance, at least it takes some of the pressure off of Jerry Jones and takes some of the pressure off of the Dallas Cowboys. Because they're going to be in prime time a whole lot. And every single time he rolls Cooper Rush out there, it would not be good. If I was Jerry Jones, or if I was advising Jerry Jones, I would tell him to have a real conversation about bringing in players like Colin Kaepernick. I know these players don't play anymore, but players like Tim Tebow, like Johnny Manziel, and just Michael Vick, players like that who they're polarizing, they're entertaining, they're headline grabbing, and they maybe even can spark a little something. But if they don't and you tank, it's still an entertaining way to tank. It still keeps you relevant. It still keeps you in the conversation. You gave it a college try without rolling Cooper Rush out there. Going and getting Tyrod or going and getting a player like that makes zero sense. Now, let me ask you this too. This is something I concocted in the old noggin here. If you're San Francisco, if you're the New York Giants, is this your chance to get rid of a young quarterback you don't want anymore? How desperate is Dallas? I'll answer that. They're really desperate. What do you think Jerry Jones would give up to get Trey Lance? Because San Francisco doesn't want Trey Lance. San Francisco knows what they have in Trey Lance. Can you imagine? Let's say Jerry offered the exact thing they gave up to get Trey Lance. The same package, whatever, same amount of picks, all that stuff. How fast do you think San Francisco would do it and start Jimmy Garoppolo? I'll go ahead and tell you, really, really, really fast. Really, 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 really fast. So if I was these teams, Daniel Jones, if I was these teams that had quarterbacks that I really didn't want to play, and I wasn't interested in, maybe even Carolina with Baker Mayfield, I would make that call. This would be such a good time for these teams to dump assets that they do not want. The Giants, I believe, would be better off starting Tyrod Taylor. And it's time for the Daniel Jones show to be done. Carolina, I like Baker, but if Carolina feels like, maybe not that much of a difference between Baker and Sam, Baker's probably not it. Let's go ahead and get some picks and come at this next year with a franchise quarterback. If they feel like that, ship them to Dallas, right? If Frisco's ready to cut ties, instead of benching Trey Lance and threatening to ruin his confidence for the rest of his career, instead of that, if they said, you know what, let's just reset. Let's even take it at a loss. Let's trade Trey Lance for 80% return. But we get rid of that. We get Jimmy in there. And let's take a chance at the Super Bowl. That's what I would do if I was other teams. But if I was Dallas, I personally would tank. But I understand that you can't tank as the Dallas Cowboys. So I would try and tank in the most entertaining way possible. I'd bring in quarterbacks once a week. Colin Kaepernick starting this week. Tim Tebow starting next week. Michael Vick starting the week after that. Johnny Manziel starting. We're just Tony Romo starting 1 week. Bring them all in.
Has been unavailable for us to play with. When do we have a better succession plan? That being said, their offensive line stunk. CeeDee Lamb had 2 more drops. Where's Mad Dog Russo? And a pass interference penalty. And they got the ball run down their absolute throats.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the big picture here, right? Is that the Dallas Cowboys have other issues. I mean, honestly, Cooper Rush didn't play that much different than Dak Prescott in the game. He is so different than Dak Prescott as far as a full season. But if you were watching the game, there was a lot of other issues. I mean, Dak was 14 for 29 with 134 yards and an interception. All right? He left in the fourth quarter. He played the entire game. That's what he gave you. Can Cooper Rush give you 14 for 29 for 134 yards and an interception? More than likely. More than likely. The issue is They have multiple injuries on the offensive line. They have an aging running back. They have CeeDee Lamb, who I think had 1 reception in the game and is not living up to the hype that he had. They have no other weapons on the team, and their defense isn't very good. Their defense is credible. They have a gambling defense where if they don't have turnovers, if they don't do that, they're going to get burned. Micah Parsons is a legitimate superstar. The rest of them, I really got nothing for them.
So if you believe that you're a better team than that we saw last night, then you got to go make a move. If you don't,
why would
you are
Baltimore
taking.
give him up?
Yeah, right. Baltimore's not going to
But
give
that's
him
the
up.
guy.
And
Baltimore may give him up because they sit there.
I think they're talking about Huntley, the backup. I mean, obviously, we didn't hear that. That's crazy to me. I've heard a lot of that in the past 24 hours. I've heard a lot of like, go get Huntley, go get all these players, these like backups that played well in the preseason, or these. What is that going to get you? Like, how good do you think these players are? How good do you think? Like I heard someone say, go get Mike White from the Jets. How good do you think Mike White is? Do you think Mike White is that much of a difference maker that he can guide this Dallas Cowboys team, which is pretty much devoid of any talent, that Mike White or Huntley or any of these players can go and guide this team? Andy Dalton was another one that I heard, that they can take this team to the playoffs. Because if you're going to go get those players and they're not bringing you to the playoffs, what are you going to get them for? That's my biggest question to the Dallas Cowboys. If you go get, let's say, Tyrod Taylor. If you go get Tyrod Taylor and you go 7-10 and miss the playoffs, what did you do that for? Because he's not on the front of Sports Illustrated. He's not on ESPN every day. So you're not more exciting. You're not more relevant. 7-10 to me is the same as 3-14. I do some quick math there. So I just don't get what these talking heads are talking about. Why? What are these backups? They're backups for a reason. Andy Dalton was terrible the last chance he got in Dallas. Do you think Andy Dalton could go 500 in the NFL right now? I don't. Jacoby Brissett is a starter in the NFL right now. If Jacoby Brissett was a starting quarterback for Dallas, are they a playoff team? No, they're not. They're not a playoff team. Now, you could go make a run at one of these quarterbacks, one of these rookie quarterbacks who we haven't seen yet. A guy like Sam Howell, or a guy like Malik Willis, or a guy like Desmond Ridder, a guy that was taken kind of late, but, hey, I could see making a move like that, or like a Trey Lance. I could see making a move like that, but I can't see making a move for some aging veteran who's marginally, maybe 2 wins better than Cooper Rush, 3 wins better than Cooper Rush. I just don't see it. I think Dallas is in a really bad spot. A really bad spot. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things where you start to wonder if they're a franchise that can turn it around, because they have so many holes. And that's the bad thing, is that, the Seahawks, the Saints, the teams I referenced earlier that their window's closed, they had a moment where they were Super Bowl champions or Super Bowl contenders, or at least in the NFC Championship game, or at least, the best record in the NFL. The Cowboys, they don't even win playoff games. They don't even win the East. They're not even, they're in their window, their quote unquote window. They're not even getting to the divisional round, much less pushing for an NFC title or a Super Bowl. So this is a top-down kind of thing. I think, to wrap this up, I think what they should do, what I would do, is I would blow it up. I'd trade Ezekiel Elliott for whatever I could get. The first thing I would do is I would try and go get a Trey Lance or a really young quarterback like that, and at a discount. Like the Sam Howells or the Desmond Ridders, people I name like that. I'd go try and get them at a discount. If I could not do that, then I would go get Colin Kaepernick, and I would say, you know what? Let's see just how freaky this can get. And I'd either lose my ass off and have the first overall pick and go get Sean Payton, or I would be one entertaining ride. But either way, it works out pretty well. So that's what I would do for the Dallas Cowboys. Tough break for Dak, but man, Jerry, call me. I have ideas.